How's it going there, everyone? It's Mr. Zen over here, bringing you guys a brand new video for today, folks. And for this segment, I'm going to be talking about Taboo Tattoo episode 5, 6, and 7, guys. Because, I felt like showcasing these episodes, they were actually they were linear, in all honesty, guys. They were actually linear from this point on. It started from episode 5, actually, where the story started progressing as a giant whole, due to the fact that the kingdom is actually now in Japan now, and they're actually trying to, there's like an overwhelming theme that the tattoos are now part of the central storyline, like more so a fact that they're actually progressing the story forward, as to say that, in the beginning episodes, they're just kind of introducing the tattoos, you kind of say, introducing what the powers can do, what are the effects of it. Now the story is kind of progressing forward as to how dangerously powerful these tattoos are, and how the kingdom and the US are actually fighting. That's what 5, 6, and 7 was basically explaining about. And it was a basically all-out war, guys. That's the way that it's kind of going out. But without further ado, let's first start off and break down episode 5, guys. And that's where we left off, where Lisa was kidnapped and she was being rescued by the U.S. Army. And that was an interesting episode, because the fact that my favorite character, Altimus, was actually the star of this episode, because the fact that the U.S. Army, don't get me wrong, guys, these guys are tough. They're tough, don't get me wrong. But just the way they kind of showcase Altimus in this episode itself, in episode 5, guys, holy snap. She was brutally slaughtering everybody. All the U.S. Army people. She was phasing in and out of bunkers. She was running around. And I personally thought to myself, like, holy snap, just how strong is Altimus, because the fact that, these tattoo powers, they only enhance the actual user's original strength. They don't actually give them any boost in itself, as you kind of say. Like, let's say if it's like a weak caterpillar, it doesn't boost a caterpillar to be able to lift 10 tons. No. I'm just using that as an example, folks. I'm just saying it's the fact that, let's say you're like the show explained it, like, you run you can run a 10K marathon. If you have the tattoo's power, you can run maybe like 20K in half the time that you were able to do the 10K. That's what basically the tattoo's powers do. And that's what I was kind of curious as to, how strong is actually Altimus, and the fact that she has a very tiny body, that she was able to do all these things. Or maybe she just uses her tiny body to her advantage in order to take down her enemies. But like I said, I love Altimus's character, and it's funny as hell that every time she's fighting, she's literally she is becoming one of these characters that it feels like the author kind of wants to keep using her, but at the same time, because the fact that they're kind of expanding on the overall characters that he's bringing in, Altimus does kind of, doesn't always get the star or the spotlight, you could kind of say. Also, in the episode, we kind of see that Altimus also faced off against Segi, and I believe his name was Toka. She faced off against both of them, and, it was kind of cringy. Actually, I should say kind of. It was definitely cringy when Tom was actually used in this episode, because they were kind of using him as for comic relief in the episode, but you kind of really didn't kind of see it, that it was just kind of cringy when they were kind of using during the fight scenes, and you see Tom kind of giving his own dialogue inside the fight scene, and you're here wondering, like, was that dialogue really necessary? Should have been used in that scene? It just felt like it was out of place, like as if the author said, "Oh, we can't make this too serious, or else people would they would be bored, or their eyes would start to wander." It's like something along the lines of that, because the fact that, I don't know, just Tom didn't really felt like he should have been used in this episode. I personally felt like he was a nuisance in this episode itself, guys. But other than that, then we see Izzy facing off against El Laka, and this guy, holy snap, guys, I personally thought this character should have died in this episode, because the fact that when he was facing off against Izzy, yes, Izzy was having a little bit of trouble facing off against this character, but that's because the fact that, these characters now were actually facing them in a very more serious tone. But the thing is that it seems as if that this character, he really should have died due to the fact that the U.S. Army shot him, and they shot all his legs, all his limbs, and everything, but he was saved by the princess. But still, in that episode, he should have died. He just should have died. I personally thought he should have died. That's just it. That's just my opinion. But they rescued him in some other way. But I here thought like, wow, how did they rescue him? It doesn't even make any sense as to why they rescued him. I don't even know why, but whatever, it's okay. To me, it felt like maybe that should have been his death scene, but maybe that's why he doesn't pop out in the next episode itself and the following episode due to the fact that he was gravely injured, which I thought actually makes sense. But I just hope that, he just should have died. That's just it, or at least share some I don't know, more I would say characters on the person itself instead of giving it that kind of brutal ass death. I feel like the authors was just trying to make it seem like a very gory scene, try to make it seem like it's like a rated R kind of a show due to the fact that they're trying to showcase, oh, blood, we have to make this we can't make it with too much dialogue, we can't make it seem as uninterested for many viewers, so we gotta make a little scene with, oh yeah, this side of it fit in. I feel like that's the way the authors kind of portraying it. But like I said, but then near the end of the episode, Princess Aria, she actually comes in and actually starts taking care of Segi and the crew and introduces herself as that they should be grateful that she's here. She's just only here to kind of finish what she has to do. And I'm here thinking like, wow, Princess Aria, she's a very powerful person because of the fact that when she barely came to the U.S., when she barely came to Japan, she then transported in and out. And I'm personally thinking like, wow, just how powerful is this character? She seems like way too overpowered. Like, it seems like her tattoo is like what, super speed or something along the line of that. That's what I thought. But that's the way that kind of episode kind of leads off right there. Them due to that, they do rescue Lisa. They do all this shenanigans. They face off against Princess Aria, Altimus, and Ella. They leave. The mission was accomplished. But then at the end of the episode, Segi is confronted by BB, or they should say Blood, as you could say. And this guy, he kind of takes Segi, which also leads on to the next episode. He kind of, I wouldn't say kidnaps him. They kind of made it look like as if he was kind of kidnapped. But I personally thought like, no way he got kidnapped. But that's where it kind of leads off. And that's where it leads off then to episode 6. And now 6 is the bulk of what I thought was very, very interesting. It had very much more deep and more of a meaningful impact to me because of the fact that in this episode, Blood was he was a very important figure. He kind of set the wheels in motion throughout the whole entire arc itself, guys. Once this character got introduced, guys, holy snap, I thought, wow, why was this character not introduced earlier, guys? Because he's practically making the story much more interesting due to the fact that how the character is presented very well in the series too. He's making a feud with other women, because the fact that it seems that he had a very a love interest with Izzy itself, because the way they kind of portrayed these two characters in the previous episode was the fact that, oh, Blood is here in Japan. I can't believe he's here. They kind of made it seem like he was a very powerful opponent, but he actually is. He's not really an opponent. They should say more like isn't Izzy's acquaintance or a former lover, due to the fact that when these two were having their own dialogue, it was a very as if the two long lost lovers that finally reunited again. That's what they were kind of giving off that vibe in the next episode, episode 6. But that's not what the episode was actually mostly enticing about. What they were really enticing about was the fact that in this episode, it's actually more about how Segi was actually taken under Bloods as his apprentice, guys, because of the fact that Segi doesn't know how to really control his Void Maker, but Blood has, he has his own tattoo power, and it's actually the same thing. It's the Void Maker itself, but apparently the Void Maker is actually taking away his lifespan, and yada yada yada. It's hilarious the fact that he's basically like the perfected Segi, because they kind of gave off the hint that Segi should, how he has his own code of justice, and Blood is actually has his own code of justice too, to not kill humans, because of protect life and all that stuff, and that's what he was kind of teaching Segi in itself, guys. Was the same reason too. You have to get stronger if you really want to protect the people that you kind of love, which is kind of cliche in a sense right there. And I told myself, oh, kind of reminded me a little bit of Naruto right there in a sense. But that's not how the episode was. It was pretty interesting in itself also, because they actually weren't slow to stop in showing a lot of battle scenes too, because of the fact that they used actually Segi to infiltrate a freaking, you know, one of the kingdom's personal laboratories, and you know, they were kind of hosting experiments with like some people with, you know, how to do with the tattoo's powers. It was a very intense episode too, guys, with that kind of sense, because these scientists, he seemed like he was a very important scientist, but like I feel like he got shrugged off at the end of the episode, because like I said, you know, this scientist could have been a very powerful villain. It's like the pacing of the episodes themselves, they're very fast. They're very quick too. Like most of the stuff that they're kind of showing, and most of the arcs that they're showing within these episodes, you know, it feels like it's almost like a standalone episode, or as it feels like the author has something going along right there, but he just did it really quickly, like as if he's being rushed, or he wants another idea to be shown instead of this certain, I would say, little backstory, you could kind of say. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll play along, you know, continue watching, and of course, you know, these episodes then kind of do delve more deeper and more darker issues in itself. And I love the fact that Blood himself, guys, the way that he's teaching Segi in itself is actually very true to himself too, because the fact that, you know, Segi has to have his own, he has to follow his own his own way of, I would say, his own justice, as you can kind of say. Because there was a little scene in the episode where it showed if Segi were to kill the enemies, or would he actually just knock them unconscious. You know, they were kind of left in like a little ultimatum right there, but his new sensei proved him otherwise, and it's basically because of the fact that he actually perfected his void maker. Due to that, that's how he was able to save all these other people, and that's what Segi kind of then starts looking up to him. And I like the fact that these two kind of have a really good relationship going on right there. I'm loving the relationship going on there, guys. It's really good. It's really well balanced with these two characters right there. It's better than Izzy's relationship, you know, with Izzy with Segi. It was more kind of like, it was definitely not a teacher and student. It was more like, you kind of say, she was basically like a substitute teacher. You could kind of say, I'm just here to fill in just all the gaps that you don't know what you're missing. Yada yada yada. Let me know what you don't know, and I'll answer it. It was kind of like that. That's how I felt like with Segi and Izzy. With Blood, it's more the fact that Blood is putting his foot down and saying, no, Segi, if you want to do this, you have to do this. If that's what you want to achieve. He's basically putting his foot down towards Segi and saying, you know, I'm going to help you out and become a better person than you really are. And that's the way I kind of portrayed the episode. But then the episode then continues off, guys. Oh, by the way, episode 5 was also very important due to the fact that it also explained what the princess's ambition is, guys. The princess actually, wow, she, you know, it's very cliche too at the same time, but she wants, you know, global, I would say global domination, but she's trying to rewrite the world itself due to the fact that there's these, like, I would say these giant, like, stone pillars of that embody the tattoo's powers, and that's where the tattoos originate from. And apparently the kingdom already possesses 2 of these monuments that have these powers of the tattoos themselves, and the US actually only owns 1, but there's 1 in Japan, and that's the reason why the princess is actually in Japan, due to the fact for that specific reason. And that's what I thought to myself, holy snap, what is going on? Now the story is progressing, and a lot of viewers will actually be now more interested in that certain fact because of that. Because of the fact that we're, like I said, the tattoos power are now becoming more very important, and why actually they are very important too, because of that. And actually they're kind of explaining as to how these tattoos are how are they actually getting. It's these mysterious monuments, guys. And I'm hoping that these episodes will actually kind of portray as to where these giant monuments came from, or who actually brought them. Are they alien technology, or if some other worldly being brought them upon the earth, or if it's like another parallel universe. We don't know yet, but it's intense. Like at first we thought it was, you know, US technology and the kingdom's technology, but no, apparently it's some other force at hand, guys. That's what I was kind of looking forward when you saw this episode. That's why people would be more so entertained after watching episode 5, because of that specific reason. And then episode 6, yada yada yada, it continues off with that. And then episode 7, that's now where we're actually left off, guys. Sorry guys, I got a little sidetracked right there due to the fact that kind of, like I said, there's like a lot of bombarded information in the episode. I don't know if I was saying episode 5 or episode 6. But then episode 7, yeah, that's where it should be. Episode 7 now actually leaves off right then and there with the latest episode. And this episode, guys, was a very battle-oriented scene. And I'm a little frustrated at the fact too that these episodes, when they first begin, it feels like they kind of jump. Like there's it feels like there's a specific fragment of a story pacing that is missing when they keep jumping to episode to episode. It's very irritating and annoying when they do that itself. Because it was weird, like when they last leave off the episode in a certain direction, and then when it starts off in a new episode, it starts off with something else. It's like, wait, how did this specific time and place jump to this different time and place without no action, without even recurring back to how these characters got to this specific place? You know, that's the kind of, like, I got a little irritated at the fact because of that. But nonetheless, guys, let's continue on. Now, episode 7, guys. Wow, I was in love with this episode, dude. The fact that this episode now also, like I said, like I was explaining before for the previous episode, how these monuments and like these stone pillars, they are apparently they host the power of the tattoo's powers. Now, episode 7, guys. Wow. Now we are getting into the bulk of the action. The U.S. Army now is basically, they figured out that the princess has located the Japan's monument where it's housing one of the tattoo's powers. And now, with that in mind, the U.S. Army has recruited all their best, I'm assuming their best tattoo void people, or I would say the sealed. They hired them or something along the lines of that, because the fact that when you're introduced to these characters, guys, you personally would be entertained as to, well, like, oh my god, you know, we're going to meet new characters, yes, you know, and also Lisa returns back, but at the same time, no, because when you meet these characters, you actually have the feeling like, okay, these characters are all going to be used just so they can just showcase a good death scene. That's what I felt like they were kind of used, guys, and I thought to myself, I don't even think that these characters are going to survive, you know. We have a blind guy, we have this very gentleman looking guy. He's like the vice captain. We have Colonel Sanders. I remember his name because the fact that his name was very hilarious. Colonel Sanders just reminds you of the KFC logo. That's what. But the reason I don't remember the other characters' names was due to the fact that I feel like they're gonna die. So what's the point of remembering these characters' names? They're just gonna die either way. And that's what happened in the episode when they were facing off against the U.S. Kingdom. The U.S. was facing off against the Kingdom. I'm sorry, I was losing there. When they were facing off against them, guys, it's hilarious the fact that they jump off the helicopters themselves. And yes, you know, like, okay, we're ready for some wartime action going on against two kingdoms right there. And clearly, it shows that the kingdom does have very powerful warriors, guys. The U.S., yes, has, I would say, quantity, but their quantity is not making up for the strength that they have. Because apparently, the kingdom actually has quality over quantity. That's what they have. All they were using was just about 10, 20 people, while the U.S. Army was using about like 30, 40, I would say. Like they clearly had numbers, but yet they were clearly losing. That's what I thought to myself. But nonetheless, guys, this episode was also interesting the fact that we see Princess Adia actually touch one of these pillars, and she actually gets transported inside one of these monuments, and you're kind of wondering, like, whoa, what's going on? So can all these that possess the tattoo powers, can they actually go inside it? And you're here kind of wondering as to, well, how or why is Princess Adia doing this, or how is she able to do this too? Is there, like, did she read this off a textbook, or how is she doing this through instinct, you know? And they're gonna be while she's rewriting these monuments. I'm assuming she's collecting it, because the fact that once she goes inside this monument, and basically she rewrites the monument itself, like with some kind of ceilings inside of it. It basically, I wouldn't say shatters first. It actually gets absorbed inside Adia's body, and then it actually shatters like as if it's glass, and then you see all these little rocks come out, and I'm assuming it's all the tattoo's powers. And that in itself, guys, is intense itself. Like I said, who or what creature brought these tattoo's powers? Were they like from an ancient tribe or something? They don't really explain nothing in that, but they just leave us viewers for speculation. But nonetheless, though, we're also introduced to a new character named Cal, and this character also, guys, in this episode 7, guys. Holy snap. She's the one that actually was decimating the whole entire US Army itself, guys. Just her by herself. I thought to myself, wow, just how strong is this character? And basically, she's also the love interest of Blood. Or actually say, Blood is not really interested in her, but she is interested in Blood. It's basically the first love triangle that we're actually witnessing inside Taboo Tattoo, guys. And that is pretty hilarious. So the episode didn't really have that too many, I would say, comical gags and stuff, but most of the gags are basically ecchi scenes, basically showing Aria, you know, trying to fondle one of these maids' breasts and you know, specific body parts of one of the maids. And I thought to myself, okay, that's funny. Okay, I get it. Ha ha ha. You know, sex joke or sexual pun joke. I get you. But it's hilarious the fact that we're also introduced again with Altimus, and Altimus itself is actually transformed into this beast in episode 7, guys, and we don't know if these beasts are the actual representation of the tattoos. And that's what I was very interested in, the fact that back in episode 5, Segi was talking to his tattoo. Yes, guys, Segi was actually talking to. So we're wondering as to what kind of creature has Segi. Is it a crow or is it a lion? We don't know. Stick with very sharp teeth was back in episode 5, but in episode 7, no, we didn't. Segi didn't really talk to it. But Segi tries to be a hero, but again, he gets, you know, demolished again by the freaking kingdom, because the kingdom is saying, Segi, know your place in time. This is not your fight. Just stay there in the ground. And that's what was very interesting, because Cal was actually taking down each of the U.S. Army, and it showcased too that she took down the vice captain of the U.S. Army and Colonel Sanders as well, guys. She took Colonel Sanders down, and Colonel Sanders, guys, he does not look like a very easy person to take down. You know, he's that stereotypical muscle-bound person himself, and you're clearly wondering as to nothing can take this brick of a monster down, but no. Apparently, Kyle has basically the power of, I would say, shields. But these shields are so quick and powerful that they can like knock their opponent out, and also maybe like cut you too, due to the fact that it's coming at you so fast. That's why I'm wondering as to how is this person actually, you know, like there's no background information on this character. It's like this is, they kind of just introduce her, boom, and that's it. You know, she's just there, just about the love interest. They just kind of introduced her with Blood and Izzy right there, but that's just about it. And also, guys, you gotta love the way they're kind of going off with the episode itself. And that was the fact that Aria herself is also another mysterious figure. And the reason I say that is due to the fact that, what is Aria's power? What is her trigger power? Because, you know, it was able to absorb the monument that was in Japan. So what does that mean? Does that mean that she has the powers of all those tattoos that were within that monument? Because then when she's introduced again, fighting Segi, which, by the way, this was a very gruesome episode. It was very gruesome to all the previous episodes due to the fact that Segi was actually tortured, kind of like Jesus on the cross, and you know, she was summoning like the earth itself, like using it like molding the earth itself as if it was clay. And you're wondering as to what is Princess Aria doing? What is her powers? Like I said, the episode was very intense, and that's where the kind of episode kind of leaves off at, where Blood joins in the scene in episode 7, and he's gonna face off against Kyle due to the fact that he kind of expresses his love for Izzy, saying that, you know, only Izzy has my heart, and yada yada yada, and Kyle saying that, oh, how dare you, you know, basically kind of like acting like little girls, basically fighting for one man. But other than that, guys, that's where the episode last leaves off, and then we're gonna be wondering what the next episode is gonna bring us. And personally, I am actually interested more on what these tattoo powers are themselves are representing, guys. That's what I'm really focused on, as how the tattoos got man. Are they really man-made, or is there some other worthy figure that has brought these tattoo powers? Like I say, guys. But that's all, folks. That's all for today, folks. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about this. I would say episode 5, 6, and 7. What you guys think about that? And also, guys, what do you guys think about Princess Aria now? Is she like a very cliche character, or is her character character condemned too? Because of the fact that, you know, she joins global domination, and she seems like she's very bored with life. and she wants to rewrite life itself. What do you guys think about Princess Aria's character? What are your thoughts on her, guys? And as always, guys, if you guys enjoy my content, don't forget to give it a like, share, and subscribe. But this is Mr. Zen, finally signing out.